Afternoon, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to look at the weekly energies with today's Monday's Musings on what is actually the 18th of January 2026, the day before this video will be out in the collective. Now that's not to say that those that subscribe to my YouTube channel won't see it beforehand, but in the greater scheme of things it won't be fully visible until much later, which feels really important to acknowledge. I was sat into doing the video just now thinking maybe I need to adjust the light, maybe I need to put some music on, maybe I need to do da-da-da-da-da, which I normally do. I normally have to ensure that the environment is ready to provide a space for the energies to come in. It already was. Everything had been prepared. And that is what the energy this week, even though it may not feel like it, or no, seem like it mentally, is actually showing us. The reason I'm doing this video early, although is there any such thing, right? The reason I'm doing this in my mind, a video early, is because tomorrow, on the 19th of January, I had a dentist appointment to get my false teeth, my bottom teeth. They are ready to be replaced, which I've been waiting for since before Christmas. Quite literally, all I wanted for Christmas were my two front teeth, although there's three, but the appointment was for tomorrow, and it turns out my body has decided to bless me with a wonderful sore in the corner of my mouth. This is an ongoing thing, particularly when I'm low or run down or not ready. Let's get to that. We can be low, we can be run down. When this video goes out, it will be the quote-unquote Blue Monday. Blue Monday has come from a sales gimmick in 2005 from a holiday company who wanted to find the best day to advertise holidays, and statistics which could very easily be pulled apart, which is important as well, facts that weren't as clear as they made themselves out to be, showed that most people round about this time, the third Monday in January, had reached a real pit of depression, particularly in relation to the holiday season being over. We're also waiting, most of us, to be paid by the end of the month, and it's a very long month because most of us are paid before the end of December. The sun isn't as bright as it normally is, or it's lower down. We don't have as much light. Things can feel as if they're a million miles from what they were and a million miles from what they should be or could be. And the statistics showed that most people round about this time were lower, had reached the lowest of the lows. One of the biggest reasons behind that is we are trying to create things before we're ready, before the world is ready. We are encouraged with new year, new us, resolutions at a time when the world is still asleep. That can leave us out of sync and not grounded with our body, with our environment. We can often think that things aren't prepared enough, that we haven't done enough, like myself with this video. But actually, if we tune in to where we find ourselves, we may find this week that the timing is perfect. So Blue Monday, I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there. We may find that this week, the energies with that, because there's so much potential. Yes, recognizing the difference between being low, run down, and just not ready. With Blue Monday now, what was once a sales gimmick, a tactic to get people to spend money or time or energy or focus, has now become an awareness of mental health. So many people will offer well-being and will really take time to be with themselves and what is going on. So what was once a opportunity to stretch us further than is possible or needed is now being seen as a potential to be with what is going on, where we find ourselves. Why is that important? Because only from there can we acknowledge we are perfectly aligned. hang on a minute, I'm run down, hang on a minute, I'm hang on a minute, I have to cancel my dentist appointment. Wow. Getting back to that, my dentist appointment has now been rearranged for the 26th, the following week. And when I looked into the astrology of this, even though it's something I knew, emphasis on that as well this week, even though it's something I knew, Neptune is going into Aries. This is huge. I've said it before in many blogs, I've said it before in many videos. This is massive. For those in particular that have Aries in prominent places in their chart. So for me, Aries is in my first house. Aries is my ascendant. Aries is what people tend to see, the first thing they see when they look at me. But for those in particular that have the energy of a vision that they have held on to for some time and had to spiritually see from many different perspectives. Neptune is at the moment in Pisces before it moves into Aries, and it's been there 13, 14 years. This is a long cycle, and it can really feel as if things haven't changed. It can really feel as if things are getting worse, and they always do before they're about to shift. It's not that they get worse, they get more intense, depending on how willing we are to watch things play out, to recognize that things are aligned where they need to be. And I totally respect that is difficult. I get that that is difficult. That can be difficult for many reasons. We don't like what we see, right? We're fed up with waiting, right? We're doubting any shifts that are going to happen, and it bloody hurts. You know, when you think of labor, when you're right at that point of delivery, it's the last thing you feel capable of doing. You don't feel as if anything is getting anywhere. And that's where a lot of us are going to find ourselves this week if we remain in our head. But with the thankful help of the Capricorn new moon today on the 18th, yes, it is a chance. The blog I've written about is called, the theme tune is Here Comes the Hot Stepper. And yes, it is a chance to start putting things into place and taking small steps forward, but recognizing that they start with our mindset first. They start with our ability to be grounded with where we are first, to be real, to be empathic and compassionate to anything that's coming up. For me this week, a lot of the things that have come up are very old school. You know, things that we may believe that we've gone through, that we've fixed, healed, sorted, fill in the gap, right? These naive beliefs around creation and around our own process that many, myself included at times, are still very ungrounded and unaware of. For me this week, it's been the wound of rejection, and my goodness, has it come up in a fearful, fire-like transformative energy. And there was nothing I could do about it but be with it. Be with it, sit with it, honestly feel it, allow all the anger and the hurt and the pain to come up, to call it for what it was, to acknowledge that yes, in an ideal world it would be great to not need validation, but that there is part of me that does. There is part of me that longs for that, and my mind can say that it has to come from me, but my heart is still wounded with all the times that it hasn't. So that has come up this week and really shown me where I am. Why do I share that? Well, the things that are rising are an opportunity to identify energetically where we are and where our focus is before we go into the new year. Before we go into Imbolc, we are being opened up like the seeds that have been planted beneath the ground. We are being defrosted. We are being cracked for some open to some home truths, not negative, not positive, just truth. Presence. Compassion isn't good or bad. It is just presence with where we are and the truth of that. So, yes, going back to Neptune in Aries and being very mindful that there's a lot of information coming through. There's been a lot of misunderstanding about mass awakenings, about how it was all going to happen at one point, about how, and it is, but that point, that still point comes from within. So the more still we can be within, the more transformation we're going to be experiencing, the more information is going to be coming in. It's not about a certain date. Yes, there are energies around that, of course. It's not about a certain prophecy. There are energies around that, of course, but it is about our ability to be in the environment that we find ourselves in and recognize we are also creating that. Sore point. I understand. I totally get that. But there needs to be a bit of awareness regarding where we are focusing. and the power of that. So this is where we're talking about Neptune into Aries. For those that have held a vision for a long time, and I class myself in that also, and nothing appears to be changing, it can be debilitating to our beliefs. We then live in a world where if something doesn't manifest, if something isn't created, and I really feel that in my chest, so I need to be mindful of the passion there, not to downplay it, but to allow it to be channeled in a way that is constructive, which is another energy to watch out for this week. Because as Neptune goes into Aries, Aries is linked to Mars, right? So, which we're feeling on the global scale. There's a lot of individual characters that have energy being whispered into their ears that are not for the highest good. And being the scapegoat or example to reflect and project onto. So being mindful of that, be mindful of our actions this week, and to ensure that we're channeling our highest intentions just by sitting with them first, feeling them first. It's great to be moved. It's great to be inspired, even if it doesn't feel like it. Even if it's come from a negative, quote unquote, negative source, we're being inspired. We're being, yes, ignited. We're being rekindled into the light that we came here to be. This is on another level. Okay, so this isn't a mass awakening, it's the amalgamation of mass awakenings that have occurred in us coming to the surface now for us to see. Neptune in Aries on the Monday, next Monday. Any visions that have been held for a long time has rocked our belief. We live in a world where if you don't get it right, if you haven't achieved a certain thing, if you haven't X, Y, Z in comparison to others, which let's face it, we all do, but is also done on the external, then you've done something wrong. Then you're out of alignment. Then you need to fix, heal, shift, whatever. Now, whilst there is an element of truth in that, in our own elemental understanding, there is a lot to be discovered when it comes to magic. There is a lot to be understood when it comes to our reality. There is a lot to be appreciated when it comes to the perception of the world that we live in and how it differs from each other. I'm doing an incredible NLP course at the moment, and it's really quite, slotting everything together, which is great. Sensory acuity, or the ability to observe senses, is something I've been doing since a child from trauma. So it's really good to see that actually things have their foundations in what they are always going to become. And that's one of the things that's going to come up this week as well. With the Neptune in Aries, we're going to be given that opportunity to reflect back, to see that when we were low, when we weren't quite right, we just weren't ready. That's it. Pure and simple. And no amount of vision boards or incense saging or dreams or journaling is going to force that, just like the process of childbirth. Or it can, we can be induced in childbirth, but that's quite highly linked to potential intervention and trauma. Okay, so really recognizing that these moments where we're not quite where we want to be doesn't mean we've done anything wrong. Particularly those that are holding an incredibly large vision. There's a lot of people out there holding or being part of an incredibly large vision, like a grid almost of energy being held. Things have had to slot into place. It's very egotistical to believe that we are just the only reason something hasn't happened, particularly if that vision involves, which all visions do, a world where other people live. So allowing that, being with what is occurring, being aware, yes, the NLP course, being aware of your own reality. It's not that your reality is right or wrong. It's a map, right, of the world that you live in. And we all have different maps based on what we can comprehend at any given time, based on how, quote unquote, woke we are to what we are experiencing, not the world outside of us, what we are experiencing. And that comes from the stillness we are able to have within. So your map isn't wrong. What you're doing isn't right or wrong. The question this week is, does it help you? Does it help you get where you want to be? Be with that. Because as we get prepared for Imbolc and spring and the year of the horse and the whatever name you want to put in it, as we are being more prepared for change, this week we have, and in every moment, yes, we have an opportunity to be still with where we are, to acknowledge that as we go into the warrior energy of Neptune into Aries is the greatest combat technique or strategy we could ever have, to recognize the conflict within us first, and the actions that are being, for some, myself included this week, reenacted as a result, and the outcome that that's going to create. Now, whilst I can see rejection for me has been a very powerful motivator, there's been many a times when I've just wanted to, and have, given situations the finger and thought, you don't know me, you aren't validating me, I will get that validation myself. That's great. For me, that doesn't work anymore. Now, that's not to say that hasn't been my reality and is part of it and will always be part of it, my childhood, my upbringing, but that particular way doesn't work for me anymore. And I've been shown that with it keep rising and the emotions that have come with it. So this week, whatever's coming up is just an opportunity to show you where you are not quite ready to achieve what it is you want to achieve. And there's no judgment there. There's not even really anything to be fixed there, just to acknowledge whatever map you've been using may not be working for you anymore. Why is that important? Well, I can't say it enough. Neptune going into Aries, we have the energy of the warrior. It's not about peaceful warrior. It's not about conflict and combat. It's about our ability to be with whatever's going on for us. That's going to determine our actions. It always has. Be aware of that. When we talk about realities, when we talk about worlds, when we talk about creation and manifestation, this is the untold law of our vibration and frequency, right? Within it. That is the path that we are continuously walking. This isn't a mass awakening. This is the ability to be in our bodies, to acknowledge the elements that we're feeling, to allow them to come all together in one complete wholeness, and from there act. We are going to be supported with that, with Neptune in Aries. So that brings me back to my tooth appointment. What is it about? What is Neptune in Aries about? Well, yes, we are going to be given the opportunity to take these visions forward in a different way. They've had to be seen from different... We've had to be seen... a bit of correction there, auto correction there. We've had to be seen from different perspectives, particularly from ourselves, particularly on a spiritual level. There's a lot of discernment that's required at the moment in regards to what spirit is for us, and to acknowledge where that may have changed, where we may have evolved with that, where we may feel a loyalty to certain energies and situations that have evolved and that cannot reach their potential until we see them for what they actually are. On Monday, I will be receiving my teeth back. On the Neptune in Aries, I will be receiving my teeth back. It feels important to focus on what this is about. What are our teeth? They're symbolic of power. This is all an opportunity to reclaim that back now. Yes, the world at large, but first recognizing your role within that, what you're actually being asked to do, and whether or not you're ready. Now, that would be a really great place to end it there. So I will end it there for probably the Instagram video. Yes, I will. That feels quite important. If you want more information into the energies for the week ahead, either continue to watch this on YouTube or continue to watch this on YouTube. It's as simple as that. So for those of you that have stayed on YouTube, because look, there's no judgment there, there's no viewpoint there, but I understand that tarot is for some people and not for others, and there's a high chance that these cards are going to reflect exactly back what has just been said, because that is how the tarot works. They are keys to our subconscious. So it's important this week to acknowledge not one size fits all, to get the information where you need it from and how you need it, not to go beyond that, to take only that we need, information as well, wounds as well, reflections and projections as well. There's a lot of energetic bypassing going on, a lot of, which I've been part of too, a lot of energy that is being sent out or received and not taken accountability for or responsibility for, a lot of potential, and that includes wounds, shadows and ideas as well, and beauty and love as well, that has been floating about in the air. Being very mindful of that by taking only that you need. Do your bit. Don't do your bit for others, because that's coming to an end. Okay, Neptune and Aries, that's coming to an end. If you've done your bit and then some, that's coming to an end, because it's not beneficial for anybody. Okay, not now anymore. Things have been seen from different angles, and that was the whole point. It's now about taking that forward. So that's what I'm going to do by looking at the energies this week with the tarot and how to best navigate them. If you have stayed, great. Let's have a little look into it. Let's have a little drink. And it feels really good, because what I normally do is have to cut and edit the video for Instagram, which I'm having a nightmare with. Instagram have blocked my video several times, and even Spotify have flagged up one of my Audible daily guidances and blocked that. It's all sorted now, and there's been no quote-unquote reason behind it. Sometimes when we become more visible, more obvious, there can be resistance to that. Not only us, but the things that rise for us this week, there can be a resistance to that. So, you know, learning the battles that you want to fight. The daily guidance was good, not from my perspective, but from the information that came through. And I didn't fight the video because it's on YouTube, but the daily guidance on Audible was good. So I did fight that, and I did contact Instagram. I haven't chased that up because, yeah, if you're still here, then you're on YouTube and you're getting this video anyway. I'm kind of done with editing the videos. I'm kind of done with spending more time than I need to, just to make it accessible to people that particularly, you know, if you want to watch the tarot part, you'll be here. If you don't, you would have got what you needed in the beginning. So yeah, and that's our prerogative. That's our prerogative. Okay, to take what we need. There is an energy of leadership coming in, and I can really feel that in my own root chakra. I'm being drawn to a picture that I painted this week, yesterday actually, as part of a manifestation with my soul, with an incredible friend, Nicolette and Kate and a load of other people. And what really came through was my own shocking of leadership that is now needed. So why would we do that? Why would we not step into what we're being asked to step into? And that's something to reflect on this week as we go into Neptune and Aries. Why would we, when given the opportunity, not take our power back? Because sometimes things can be comfortable. Sometimes we can be so used to something. Sometimes we can be so downtrodden with things that haven't happened, or the things that we've held space for, that it just doesn't feel like it's possible. So coming back this week to really your core energy, and looking at the belief that you have with yourself, finding those that are going to help you remember who you are. And that's the energy, that's the potential as we lead into this Neptune in Aries. Okay, and it is a turning point. It really, really is a turning point. I'd like to say every moment is a turning point, but it feels important to acknowledge actually that it's big. It's big. Okay, but not anything we're not capable of delivering. Energies this week and how to best navigate them are beautiful. Have the Star card at the bottom of the pack. Yeah, this vision is our focus. My nails do still have a bit of paint on, and that's important. Are we willing to get our nails dirty? Yes, mine still have paint on, and that's great. They still have a remnants of what I painted yesterday, of the vision that I saw. Are we willing to get our nails dirty, our hands dirty? Are we willing to connect to the grit and the dirt and the earth beneath us to bring this vision in? Does that include our body? Are we willing to be empathic with the parts of us that feel like nothing is changing? Are we willing to be sensitive to the parts of us that doubt, understandably, after a long period of time, that doubt but yet have still kept going? And that's important. Choose to focus more on what you have continued to do despite and because of your environment. You are still doing the vision. We are all still doing the vision in our own individual ways, and what we've been waiting for is that greater collective imagery to come into play. And that's what this week is all about. So how do we best navigate the energies this week? Remember that. Remember timing. Timing is really, really important. Not in right time, wrong time, waiting for things to slot in, any of that, but acknowledging that time is of our own interpretation. Okay, so what makes something go quicker? What makes, time flies when we're having fun. What makes things easier and go quicker? When we are enjoying the process. And that isn't always easy. I get that. It isn't always easy. But what can we do in between? So I'm waiting for my teeth to be done, but I'm still carrying on what I would normally be doing, which is this video now, with the, ironically, Capricorn new moon, a great time for setting intentions and really feeling into what is possible in this moment, being aware of the bigger vision, but what is possible in this moment. Carry on with what you're doing. If it hasn't happened, or you feel low, or you feel run down, your body isn't ready. That is your responsibility to take charge of, to be with, I'm not suggesting you go down the gym and you push unless that's one of your steps. I'm not suggesting you suddenly change your whole diet. Detox can be very detrimental to a body that isn't prepared. But acknowledge, listen, connect. The star card, she's naked. Connect with your naked, raw, vulnerable, beautiful self. One of the biggest things that came up for me this week with rejection and validation was my own view of being this raw, vulnerable self, and actually reaching out and suggesting those areas where I have needed that appreciation really empowered me to not be ashamed of it. There are times when it's not validation, it's acknowledgement and to be seen, and we all long to be seen. We're all here to reflect each other to each other, and sometimes we need that. Otherwise we'd be here on our own, and we're not. We're part of a grand, beautiful vision, which means we're not doing it alone as well, which is the other energy this week. So get yourself ready. Get yourself ready. Be with your body. Do what you can. Hold the hope. Hold the vision of yourself within this far greater thing that is unfolding. Okay, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Overall, it's a heady week. Actually, no, I can feel it in my head. It's a hedonistic week. It can be a heady week if we overthink it, if we assume. Yeah, okay. It's almost like we've brought in this world of mindfulness, and we've gone from overthinking to assumption. Which, like I say, with the NLP course, one of the things you discover is that we can only take in bite-sized pieces of information at any given time. One of the things I read was we can only take in up to 7, at a push 9 stimulus at a time. That's not to say more isn't happening, but if we were aware of them, it would blow our minds. We live in a world where that's increasing. Is our ability to be with that? Debatable. Really, really debatable. Not because we can't cope with things that are going on, but because we're not in our body and the responses as a result. So on the Monday, we have the 4 of Cups. Actually, I'm being guided to look at the energy overall this week first, which is the 7 of Pentacles. It's important to acknowledge things are growing. We are growing, and there has been growth. How often do we look back and think nothing has changed? That's not possible. That's not actually true, because change is constantly occurring. So what has changed? What has grown? There may be things that you're not keen on. Okay, so tend to your inner landscape, tend to your garden. Yeah, whether that's physically, great time to be out there at the moment with your hands in the soil, or mentally, spiritually, emotionally, intellectually. What weeds need pulling out, what no longer grows there anymore. But things have grown. Might not be things that we like, but things have grown. Okay, so it's not a lack of focus here. It's not appreciating the power of our focus. So this man here, he's kind of like, but he does at least acknowledge that things have grown, things have changed, things have shifted. Until we allow ourselves that, Anything that we put in place, we're never going to believe in, ourselves included. This week, give yourself an opportunity, write a letter to your past self, give yourself an opportunity to see how much has changed. Send some healing, send some love back to that version of you that would have been struggling. And that version could be yesterday. That version could be 10 minutes ago. That version could be 10 years ago when you first thought of a dream, or 14 years ago when you were first given a vision, or your childhood. Whatever part of you is debating whether something is possible, send some healing and some love. I've just seen my own to that version of you. They need it. And that's where we get out of the mindset of time. Okay, we really need to get out of the mental fixation on what we see as linear time. It's going to make a difference. I can see Back to the Future now. Okay, so on the Monday we have the Four of Cups, and this is where I say it's not that we're not aware of the stimulus, and that's actually increasing. The reason we're struggling with that is because we're not being with our body. Okay, the more we can be with the still point within, the more we can be aware of past understandings and how we interpret the world around us and the future impact that that's having, because it is. By the time we experience something, it has gone through a mass shit ton of filters based on what we feel and what that means to us, based on what we smell and what memory that brings up, based on the last time something similar happened. It's gone through all of this language so that we decide and decipher what we're going to take forward. That's an ongoing process that we're very often unaware of. On the Monday, pause. Take some time to be with the stimulus that you are receiving. If it feels the same, are you looking at it differently? Are you willing to open up and receive something alternative? Be with your body. Be with the stimulus. Be with your interpretation of it. And just gently, 4 is stable, but also very, very restrictive, very, very comfortable. Just gently start to open up your own perspective of what's going on around you, because it's a reflection of where you are. Is it your responsibility? Is it your fault? No. Your world within a world is your interpretation. The bigger world? Of course not. And anybody that says this has only happened because of how you have manifested it, that's really having a very negative effect on people. Look at your own translation of that now, your own emotional awareness of that now, and what is going on around you. On the Tuesday, that's going to bring forth our first. It is our first. I was going to say our only, but it really, really isn't. But it may feel like it. It may feel like it. And actually, it is. The other major arcana, as much as they're major arcanas, they're going to emphasize this major arcana, which is the Fool card. On the Tuesday, there is that new path to be walking. But remember, the 0 has no beginning or end. It isn't new. It's continuous. How we change it is our view, perspective, and courage to walk it. That's what makes it different. Okay, so yes, I'm being drawn to the monks here, but I'm also being drawn to the awareness of what did that mean to us. We can't keep going back to symbolism. This week with the new moon in Capricorn, and as we go into Neptune in Aries, there's going to be a shift. There already is a shift, and many have been feeling it since, well, whenever, but we've all been feeling it in our own ways. The invitation to shift. That invitation is going to get louder. I see the dog right on the Fool card. The dog, society, the inner wild, our emotions, our reaction to things is going to get louder, and it's going to suggest to us, I've just got huge deja vu, which is one thing that's going to come up, which is a beautiful opportunity to recognize you are where you were always supposed to be. Deja vu can be a past life, but it also can be a future vision of your past perspective. So it can be that your past self, thank you, and your future self has caught up in this moment. So on the Tuesday, yes, things are going to get louder. They are going to encourage us to look at the symbolism by all means, but then what? So we've seen the monks walking for peace, and we've seen the dog there. That's lovely. That's been beautiful and inspiring in our mind and in our emotions. What has actually changed for us? Because it's only when we put forward the steps and take the actions of something that we start to really feel things come full circle for us. The fool is no fool. Particularly when he knows he's the fool. He is someone that continues to walk the path, that sees things as he goes along, and that is open to different interpretations, but continues to walk the path. Now, of course, he's on the precipice, like we all are, every moment, but particularly this week. He's on the precipice of taking that leap. Those leaps don't always have to be big leaps. They can literally just be one foot in front of the other. You know, it can be very courageous to continue when things haven't quite manifested as quickly as everyone else is, or in the way that you would like, or if people have had well-meaning conversations with you about what you may need to change and align, and sometimes there is a place for that, but you'll know because of how you feel. And, you know, has it empowered you? Has it helped you feel as if you can believe in yourself? Or, you know, really coming back to the emotions and acknowledging how much courage it can take to get up some mornings in this world. Have some empathy and some compassion for yourself and some downright appreciation of your life, of every day that you continue to walk it. Okay? That's what's going to complete the circle in every step that you take. Not the judgment of it, not how well you did or didn't do. That's great. Learn from it by all means, you know, but it's not about the outcome. It's not about whether you failed or succeeded. It's literally about how well you can keep moving on. I can hear the Rocky quote, which is obviously from my mother. You know, it's not about how hard life can hit. It's about how hard you can get up. I don't necessarily believe you have to keep getting hit, but how well you can keep moving forward now. Neptune in Aries, baby. Okay, on the Wednesday, provided we can restore that balance and harmony in our own life and how we see ourselves, we're going to start to see it around us and the collective. However, if we focus on the collective and keep ourselves out of that equation, yeah, we're going to feel a lack of harmony. It's not about what we're seeing, although, God, that's interesting in itself, and it will come to some sort of legality midweek. You know, things will start to sort themselves out. In how willing universal law is going to be to allow things to continue. Okay, now we're part of that universal law, but we're not all of it. Let's just leave it at that. But obviously, the lack of harmony, humanity, I hear, comes from our ability to recognize where we may be witnessing and where we may be disassociating ourselves from what is going on. What goes on in the political agenda isn't your doing. Your reaction to it, your interpretation of it, what you want to share from that, how you want to feel with that is. There's no judgment there, it just is. You know, so you can take responsibility for that. You can't change someone else's outcome. Yeah, that's a hard one to sit with because there is work being done, and I appreciate that. But recognizing that if we continue to do it from a separate thank you perspective, without doing our own stuff within it, it's very one-minded, one-sided. It might be the nice side for you, it might be the right side for you, it might be the done thing, the greater perspective even for you, but it's still one-sided. So being aware of your own reactions, what you would like, and then handing it over to the highest good. Okay, acknowledging that's not bypassing, but it's also not control. There's a big difference, and on Wednesday we're going to be more aware of that. On the Thursday, that's going to bring mental confusion. You know, we've kind of sat with what's coming in. It may not be what we quite want. We know we need to start this new journey. We know there are things that need sorting themselves out, but on the Thursday, mentally, we have the Nine of Swords, recognizing it's near the end, but it's not quite there yet. Okay, now I don't know about you guys, but my dreams have been all over the place. And I know quite a few other people have had some interesting, shall we say, dreams. And there's a lot coming up. There's a lot of joy. There's a lot of craziness. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of nightmares that are rising to the surface as well. A chance to be with our own fears, not always when we're asleep. Now it feels important to acknowledge on the Thursday it's not about waking yourself up. It's not about being woke, it's about being aware of yourself. aware of what level of perception you are at when you are looking at something, and the impact that that's having on your own mindset. You know, we can have people say this hasn't happened because of X, Y, Z, and it can make us feel miserable, but it only makes us feel miserable because it's speaking to a part of us. You know, the whole rejection thing, the whole validation thing is speaking to a part of me. That's part of my language that has been hidden, that has been woven so deeply ingrained in me that it's now rising to the surface. Thursday, there's going to be a lot of that. Not necessarily when we're asleep. In the waking world around us. Is there a difference? Well, what I'm being drawn, Thursday's a little bit trippy. Don't overthink Thursday. Come back to your heart Thursday. If that means putting your head in your hands and having a quote unquote moment, then have the moment. Have the moment. Let things break down. Be with what you're experiencing and feeling. Half of thank you, the nightmares that we have, is because they are bigger than what they need to be because we've blocked them, pushed them away and become fearful of them. They're part of you. They're part of you. Of course, things that are occurring on the world stage you may not see as part of you, but your feelings, they're yours. Such and such made me feel such a way. You know, someone made me feel so. No, your feelings are yours, and it's time we collectively recognize the nightmare that we are living by not acknowledging that. Now, isn't that a much nicer way of saying wake up? Okay, so on the Friday we then have the Knight of Pentacles. We have that grounding, and this is coming from the new moon. Even though it may not feel like it throughout the week, something from the new moon on the Sunday will come up on the Friday to allow us to not only see where we are, but in doing so see what we offer. And in doing so be more aware of this greater vision that is in front of us, but also that has been behind us all this time, that has been guiding us all this time, aka the horse, the energy that is coming through in February. But this goes beyond that. This is a past life connection for many people to the wisdom of the heart. Yes, you may have ridden horses, you may have worked with horses. You know, I've always, when I meditate, see a cave that's full of horses and handprints. And, you know, I know that's an ancestral thing for me in Portugal. And yeah, okay, there's loads of different connections to the horse, just like there's loads of different connections to the heart. There's loads of different connections to spirit. There's loads of different connections. And yeah, recognizing that connections are perceptions. Okay. Come back to the energy of the horse and what that means for you. If that means transformation, okay, use that to move forward. Look at where you have transformed. Look at the journey behind you that you have walked and what part of that you now want to take forward. If for you that the energy of the horse is the heart, okay, what do you love? What have you always loved? How do you want to love that in the future? If the energy has been money and abundance and physical wealth, okay. Where have you really learned from your experiences over the last 14 years in regards to money? What can you take forward? If that energy has been power, or, you know, the list is endless. Feminine, the earth, wisdom. At the end of the day, that energy for the horse, one of the greatest gifts of the horse is to be able to see people for what they really are and reflect that back. That energy, love, transformation, abundance, wealth, connection, learning, is you. Look back at the path of your own self-discovery. Oh, it feels so lovely that you've walked, and take that forward on the Friday. On the Saturday we have the Hermit, and the Hermit is literally looking back to the night, literally looking back, and it's the dark night of the soul as well, looking back to the dark night of the soul. And this is where I can actually feel Heath Ledger coming in, which is a beautiful energy and not something I would normally do, but recognizing the energies that you will allow in, recognizing the part that you both have to play together. Heath Ledger's energy is showing me the role of the Heyoka, who played the Joker, showing me the role of the sacred clown and the Fool. The Hermit here is looking back towards that energy of the Fool on the Tuesday, showing the dark night energy, acknowledging the power and presence of being able to walk in that darkness and continue to rise, continue to find the light in it without losing your own. Showing the impact and trauma it can have on us when we carry roles for others that we're not who we are completely, and when we lose sight of who we may be. This week, feeling into that. This week, feeling into, yes, of course, Blue Monday, but the power of our mental health, the acknowledgement of that and the more shamanic path, the path of healing, the path of being who we came here to be, the path of recognizing the energies that we are connected to and the roles that we have outgrown, recognizing they're all roles, not getting caught up in the one and identifying with the one, well, identity, because that confuses the situation, coming back to the core potential of yourself. On the Saturday, here the Hermit has the Star card in his lamp. The light that we've discovered, everything that we've learned has always been about the vision, the foundation that we're going to build on. The question is, what foundation is that, and where do you include yourself in its component? It's not the word component. Okay, so there's something not quite right there with that. And on the Sunday, that's where we have the Eight of Pentacles. On the Sunday, there's still work to be done. Things aren't quite right. Of course, on the Sunday, I'll be doing a video early like I am today. And there will be an infinite loop there. On the Sunday, things that we were doing last week with the new moon will come to a fruition. They will come to a mastery, a completion, a closure, in time for the Neptune into Aries, coming full circle to what that has been about. What is Neptune in Aries? It's about the peaceful warrior. It's about the ability to, it's not about seeing things from different perspectives anymore now, or the different roles, or the different characters that we have all played. We have all played these characters, and we all continue to play these characters. Allowing the recognition that it is all consciousness finding a way to express itself. Now that consciousness can be God, source, energy, love, whatever you want to call it, but it's all an opportunity for consciousness to express itself, to discover itself. Only in expressing ourselves can we discover ourselves. And that's the work. That's the sacred work. That's the bit that needs to come into fruition. So when I say recognize where you are as a component of the consciousness, of the collective consciousness, acknowledge your part, your core self, and start grafting. Recognize the grafting you have done, but really start grafting, allowing things to come together. This is 8th chakra type energy. I can feel Heath Ledger going, this is not my thing. This is real 8th level chakra type energy coming in. Okay, this is real connecting to your own soul's wisdom. So yes, we can be aware of the energy and vibrations and frequencies that come in and the information that comes in and the messages that come in, but that is just a invitation to reflect on what that means to us and what we need or want or are here to create as a result. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to do any more. It doesn't feel like any more is needed. So again, take only that you need. Okay, give only that is required, and restore the balance this week in order to move forward with it the following week. Take care, and I shall see you then.